Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to our community here at the I've Decided Studios. Our community is hosted by or sponsored by I've Decided and the Greater Peoria Family YMCA, which I am the president and CEO for, Andy Thornton, for the Greater Peoria Family YMCA. And today we're going to talk about the word best. So, do you struggle with comparing yourself to others? I think we all probably do a little bit of that, but if you do, hopefully in today's show, we're going to talk a little bit about some strategies and how we can just focus on ourselves and how to be our best self each and every day. But before we get into that, let me introduce my guest, Marcellus Sommerville. Marcellus, thanks for being here.
No, happy to be here, man. Great opportunity to kind of speak to the word best and learn a little bit about I've Decided and what you guys have been doing here.
Yeah, no, that's great. And we're looking forward to getting to know you a little bit better. So why don't you tell us, who is Marcellus Sommerville and what happens at the Peoria Friendship House?
Marcellus Sommerville is a Peoria native. Kid grew up here in Peoria, Illinois, most of his life. Where I started to explore or venture off was through the game of basketball. It was able to afford me opportunities to travel. So kid growing up playing in most parks, Carver Center, Morgan Square, wherever we lived at the time, wherever I could walk or ride a bike. Graduated from White Middle School, which is no longer here in town.
I don't think I'm familiar with that.
OSF has taken it over. I think they use it as an educational research center currently. But yeah, and then went on to Peoria High, which is, we called it Central back then.
Yep.
And graduated from there in 2001 and went on to go to University of Iowa, actually. Played there for about a year, actually redshirted for a year.
Was that with Dr. Tom Davis?
No, that was actually with Steve Alford.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So Steve Alford was the coach. And wasn't enjoying my experience there. So went on to junior college, down to Southwestern Illinois College, and graduated from there in a little over a year and was able to graduate with my associates and be eligible to play for 3 years at Bradley. And went on to Bradley and played and enjoyed that, had a great time, ended up going to the Sweet 16 and taking my talents overseas.
Yeah. How many years overseas?
14 and a half.
Wow.
Yeah, 14 and a half. Made a really nice career out of it.
That's awesome.
Was able to, grow my family. We have 4 children. Me and my wife, Brooke, married very young and been married 20 years this summer. So really excited about that milestone. And kids speak French. Kids are
you
well.
mentioned that the other day in a meeting that we were at. Your 2 oldest speak fluent French. That's pretty
fluent
cool.
French. Just great opportunity to be able to further the game of basketball in a place that I had no idea what to expect. Yeah. But very, very nice opportunity. Then came home in 2019 to further grow in the community, and again with the vehicle of basketball in mind. Just because I know what it afforded me and how it provided for my family and what it could possibly do, even on a social standpoint, on a team aspect of what basketball does for kids. And so started Next Generation Academy, and then just been getting in the community, and then lo and behold, get an opportunity to work at Peoria Friendship House and grow the organization, further the mission, which is to do the work of Jesus Christ, providing hope and respect and a path of prosperity.
Amen.
And just really intrigued by the mission to start. And then from there, just truly believing that it can be one of the pillars here, like a beacon here in the North Valley as well as Peoria. And we've scaled programming 3 times as much, serving more families, impacting more lives, and it's been a blessing to be able to do that. Yeah. So
doing some great work. And the community is definitely better and stronger because of your leadership. I can speak to that firsthand. So thank you for what you do.
No, thank you.
and making us a stronger community. So let's talk about being our best. And I'm going to throw a question at you right off the top and see what your thoughts are. But for Marcellus Sommerville, what are you doing every day to make sure you're showing up to be your best? What are the things that come to mind? What is it about you that drives you to be your best?
I don't know if I could. I don't know if I really know. No, I would say honestly, being intentional. Being intentional with staff, being intentional with board, everyone, my wife, kids.
Yeah.
I would also add not just intent, but just I would say, I always say focus, but I would say providing vision for them, like in terms of what they're doing and what they're trying to do. My grandfather taught me at a very young age that the men in the household are the providers.
Yeah.
And that doesn't just mean financially. That means direction. That means influence. That means so many different things. And so I would say those are some things that I try to do every day intentionally. And I always just try to show up. Something as simple as that is showing up.
Be present.
Yeah, be present, showing up for those that need you most.
And that's hard to do, right? It's hard to be present all the time, especially in today's world. There's so many distractions,
right?
So many responsibilities and burdens that you carry, not only as a father, but as a leader of a very important nonprofit in our community, right? There's a lot of families and a lot of employees that you're responsible for, and you take those things with you.
Right. And I always flip it. Like, what if I don't show up? Then what, what if I don't drive my kids to school? Things that people, I mean, I do it too, but take things for granted in a sense.
Perspective.
And I always flip it. Like, what if I didn't do X?
Yeah.
Where would, situations or things be? So
I think that's pretty profound, actually, to put it that way, because it can get very easy or become very easy to get to become, what's the right word, complacent, right, with some of those responsibilities. Taking your kids to school every day, right? Can be a chore sometimes. Right? It's hard to do, or you've got other things going on that you want to get involved with, or things that are coming up at work. But to be able to think about it for a moment and just say, well, what if I don't do it? What happens if I don't do it? I think immediately puts it in a different perspective when you think about it that way.
Right.
Who's going to be spending that time with my kids?
Right. Who's going to be influencing them? Who's going to be doing X? So
I appreciate that. I think that's really important, to turn it on yourself really fast and say, okay, if I don't do this, what's the outcome? Good. That's good. Thanks for that nugget. Do you have a morning routine? A consistent routine?
Consistent. Lately it's been inconsistent.
Yeah.
But usually I get up, meditate a little bit, hop in the shower, do the normal essential things.
Right.
And, usually when I get to work, I meditate a little bit more on, all right, what am I going to accomplish today? And I try to knock off one or two things in terms of some task, so I can feel like I achieved.
Yeah. Some momentum.
Right. And then usually I do, but there's times as of lately where the day-to-day kind of takes an effect, and you just got to kind of roll with it. I mean, dealing with nonprofit and just unexpected things that happen.
Every day is a different day.
Routine
is hard, I think, in our line of work.
Yeah.
And I would think you maybe in more so of yours, because you're more focused on the social service piece than maybe I am. But there's always constant distraction.
Yeah. Constant chaos.
Yeah. And I think routine's important, but it's hard to have that on a consistent basis. But something you said that I think is also important is to find some small accomplishments, some tasks that you can achieve early in the day. I remember my grandmother talking to me growing up about the importance of making your bed, right? Get up out make your bed, right? Because you're doing something.
That's right.
And that's really what that does is it just spurs more momentum and more accomplishment. And I think, prayer or meditation or whatever, so that you're self-reflecting, thinking a little bit about, I try to start my day, and I don't do it. I'm not the greatest at it, but I try to start my day with some type of a scripture reading. Okay. I get up at about 5:30 every day. The alarm goes off. Whether or not I get up right then depends on kind of how I'm feeling. But usually there's time for me in the morning before the rest of my family gets up, to where I've got 5, 10, 15 minutes to where I can read some scripture and think about, how is this going to impact me today? What am I going to do to lean into this?
Yeah, I think that's our time. I always call that my time. When I wake up, 5 or whatever, 5:30. It's like the time that I can really zero in on some of that self-care. Yeah. When opportunity presents itself.
Yeah, that's another strategy that Kim mentioned in her article this week about self-care. And I'll be completely honest, when I think about self-care, I don't think about it for me. I don't. Maybe it's a man thing or a male thing where you just don't think about that stuff. But when I read her article this week, it just reminded me of the importance of, making sure you're going to bed at the right time of night. You're giving yourself time to rest, time to relax. What are you eating every day? Right. All of those things. I don't think about those as self-care, but they are. Right? I think of the going to get a massage, or those things kind of first come to mind. I don't do that type of stuff. That's not for me. But when you think about it from the perspective of putting yourself in the best position to be successful, right, it's about rest. It's about diet. It's about exercise, right? And those things.
I would say this last year or last 4 to 5 months, I've been more in tune to the self-care aspect. Because early on I was new to it, you know what I mean? And in terms of running the friendship house, and I was burning it in terms of just learning, just trying to understand how the day-to-day works, how, and it felt like I was in a good groove. And then controlled chaos comes and all right, I don't have it figured out, and you continue to burn. And so I felt a little bit like I was going to be burnt out a little bit. And
so where did you go, or what advice or counsel did you seek out to
I think my wife noticed it early on, and she voiced her concerns, and I was like, oh no, it's just working, just kind of trying to keep going. And she kept at it. And I would say some mentors of mine noticed in my face, in my I guess my body language, and I'm like, a little tired, but and I think it was just a combination of individuals who know me and know how I'm normally appear, and how I appear on was appearing, and they were able to help me identify that I need to be more in tune to my personal care, so that I can take care of others.
So what things are you doing differently?
Actually, some blood pressure medicine now, just to keep things leveled. I would also say doing more things that are more calming during my off time, because usually I have a fond way of filling things when I have an open window, and now taking those open windows for me or for my family, and just really diving into that.
Learning to say no.
I was going to say that too. But not a hard no, but just like, I really can't, what I mean? I don't mean anything by it, but I can't at the moment. And people respect that, actually. And I'm finding that out, that people do respect the fact that you do have other things on your plate.
Sure. And it's hard to say no, right? Because you don't want to let others down, disappoint people. Somebody's asked you to give in a certain way, and you can do that. But most people understand, because the people that are asking you are dealing with the same things, right? And they understand when you say no and you're honest about it. It's like, I need this time for myself or for my family, and I'm just going to have to withdraw for those reasons. And I think that that's important. It's hard to get to that space.
Right.
I still struggle with it. 53 years old, and still struggle with saying no. And then I'm kicking myself later because I'm not allowing myself enough time to decompress or to reflect or to just take care of myself. And I think that's really important. Let's talk about the value of continuous learning and always wanting to be better, know more. So what are some strategies that you embrace and invest in so that you're pushing yourself to learn?
I would say audiobooks, different podcasts of different things. I do like to pay attention. Not that I watch a lot of news, but just know what's going on in other cities. I do pick up the paper every now and then here locally, but just be in tune to what's actually happening from a need standpoint, as well as just the overall things that are happening in our city.
Are there other institutions, organizations that you look to for ideas, strategies on how you can provide better services through the umbrella of Friendship House?
I would say yes. We partner quite a bit with OSF and the school district, Peoria Police Department.
Yeah.
And so just identifying some of the needs that they are, some of the challenges that they have and from a need standpoint, and then knowing where we can kind of support or fill in the gap to help. So that has helped us a lot in the last 3 years.
And I would imagine that, you mentioned the police department, OSF, those places are probably working with some of the same families that you're working with, right? Too.
For
so
sure.
There's some similarities there.
Yeah, there's some overlap, but at the same time, I think, what is it? 211 is a big resource.
A United Way resource.
Yeah, and so I think that those things are helping identify good programs, good services to help the community.
Yeah. Do you find it easy or hard to, when we talk about continuous learning, to make that a daily habit?
No, I don't think so. Motto is to learn, and relearn. You always have to be evolving because things are changing daily, weekly, monthly. And so if you're always in the mindset of adaptability or adaptagility for that matter, in terms of your mental state and your working space, I think you'll stand the test of times. If you have a traditional way of doing things and you're going to do it the traditional way all the time, I think you're hurting yourself, you're hurting your organization, you're hurting your business. And I kind of have an entrepreneurial mindset and just always looking to evolve and feed the need of those that need it most.
Yeah, that's great. Let's talk about goal setting, which is extremely important, I think, for organizations, for individuals, all of the above. So how much time, how much energy do you put into setting goals for yourself and for your organization, and how critical is that to your success?
I think it's very critical because it gives you, let's say, a purpose in this. When you're talking about goals, when you're talking about, I always equate things to basketball, but the trophy of an organization, and you're trying to reach, whether that's X number of dollars for the organization to be sustainable, whether that's X number of kids to impact, and things of that nature. So I think there's always, especially with me, I have some very specific ones, which is always making sure the culture and the aspect of the way we carry ourselves through our organization in terms of employment and employees, as well as the kids who we're impacting. I have personal goals of reaching to as well, but I think they all kind of flow hand in hand.
Yeah.
Can't have one without the other, and so that's kind of how I do it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have a goal that's far reached over here that may not be attainable and reasonable within the scope of work, but always.
So you're. I think I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
Which is what I did, and I didn't mean to do that. But you said something about. At least I think I heard you say that your personal and your professional goals are somewhat aligned,
Yeah,
or overlap, and I think that's it's hard not to have that when you're running an organization like you're running, because it becomes your way of life, right? You're serving the community and these kids and these families that are a part of Friendship House and looking for additional ways to serve, and it really has to become a way. You can't shut that off, right? It goes with you everywhere you go, because you represent the Friendship House, and people recognize that.
Yeah, I literally say that all the time. There's no off button or when you're quote unquote a leader of the community or a face of an organization. Kids see me in public and they're like, "Hey, there's Mr. Sommerville," or there's no off button when it comes to the impact and the influence that you can have on.
And I would imagine even for you and somebody like you who was very well known and recognized before you even took that role,
right? It's
probably even enhanced more because of that, because virtually everybody knows Marcellus because of your playing days at Peoria High or Bradley or whatever, and very easily recognizable person in this community because of that success.
Right. I equate it to similar, like playing basketball is like creating memories for those around me, right? And now I
have some great memories of you playing basketball.
Yeah,
I do. I remember where I was when you knocked off Kansas in the Sweet 16.
Yeah. Everyone does. I get that all the time. I was in Florida at the bar.
Yeah, it was a big deal for,
it was a huge
people
deal
in this community.
For the city, for sure, 100%.
Yeah. Positive mindset is another strategy that was laid out in Kim's article, and the importance of making sure that you're approaching your life, your work, with a positive mindset. And one of the pieces that was suggested in there that I fully buy into is it's easier to have a positive mindset when you're surrounded by people who are going to support that mindset, right? People are going to encourage you, push you, hold you accountable.
Right.
So what types of things do you do in your work life, your personal life, to make sure that your circle of influence is the right people?
I think at times your personality attracts good people, right? In terms of just who you are. And I've been fortunate enough to have some really positive people in my life, and not being able to identify when they're not so positive. I think that's a key. Just identifying those that aren't necessarily worthy of being in your circle. But I would say it's a collective of personalities of people, and being able to accept. I think that's the thing that I appreciate most about everyone. Not everybody's made the same, but everybody has an opinion for sure. And being strong within yourself. Positivity, like affirmations, usually help me. I beat myself up too. Sure. I'm always telling people I'm my worst critic when it comes to most things, and so learning how to beat yourself up, but also pick yourself up, and then having, like you said, the support around you to do the same. And, hold you accountable, but yet see and be able to identify the positives.
When I hear you say the importance of beating yourself up, you're just talking about, I think, just holding yourself accountable.
Holding yourself
Right.
accountable, not necessarily physically beating yourself.
Right,
but,
or even mentally.
Or mentally,
right.
yeah. Just holding yourself accountable for
You know
what
you could do better in this instance, and you want to make sure that you reflect on that, learn from that, so that next time. That's what I'm hearing you say,
Absolutely.
And I know about you.
Absolutely.
I think it's critically important. We have to know. We have to be able to admit that we failed. Because we do. We fail all the time.
All the time. We come up short.
And if we're so proud that we can't admit that we're failing in any circumstance, I just had a lunch with a mentor of mine where we were talking about that, and I was reflecting on something. I said, this experience sucked, but it was because of me. I was the reason why it stunk, and I got to own that and learn from that, and so it doesn't happen again.
Right.
That's critically important, and that's not. I don't see that as a negative mindset. I see that as a positive mindset because you understand failure.
Yeah. And a lot of people today equate failure as a lesson, which is great, and it is. But taking serious accountability wakes you up. And I think
it's humbling.
Yeah, it's very humbling, and I think that's kind of my makeup. I'm pretty hard on myself, and then it's all right, how do we find a solution to get out of it? How do we fix the wrong? How do we correct it? And so I think that's it's worked for me.
Yeah. I think it's a great mindset, and I think it will continue to carry you forward. And people who can approach life that way, I think are setting themselves up for success, because failure is inevitable. We're going to experience it quite more often than we would like, but it's how do we approach failure?
That's right.
And I'm sure you learned that through athletics too, right? You don't succeed every time out. You're not going to be the best you can be every time out.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, I played 14 and a half years professionally. I've been to the finals 4 times and only won once.
Yeah.
So failure at the top level in terms of sport.
Yeah, but I'm sure you can find a way to make the positive out of that and turn it around and get yourself better.
Have some very, very good summers when you come second.
Well, this has been great. I appreciate you joining me today and helping us talk through this. It's been great to get to know you a little bit better, and I just appreciate you being here today, Marcellus. So thank you very much.
No, thank you. Thank you guys for having me. Truly appreciate the opportunity to share. And
all right. Yeah. Thank you for joining us today here in our community, and we look forward to seeing you next time.